Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning meditation. On behalf of Awakening Truth, I'm Kat, and this is Brian with me. And we're so happy to be with you this morning. We're going to be discussing in our Dharma today awakening and the Buddha's direct experience, and then Brian will lead us through a meditation. So I invite you to come to a comfortable seat. If you are walking for this time, I invite you to kind of pause where you are and look around you instead of continue your movement, whether you're doing laundry or something else while you're watching this. Just taking that moment to breathe in your body before we listen into this space of the Dharma and the truth, the teachings of the Buddha. And so if you could just find that place of lingering in the moment right here, this pause. And close your eyes for 3 full breaths. And place a hand on your belly. And just feel the breath. Open the belly button so the belly button comes out like a bowl full of jelly. And as you exhale, just let it release. 2 more like that, very gentle with your body. As you open to this experience of being in a body, and you let it release. Last breath, opening fully. Just letting the breath flow out naturally. I invite you to soften your heart as you listen to this Dharma, so whatever comes in is meant to be there. So with soft heart, I invite you to open your eyes and look around and see what is in your experience. And as we start this Dharma Talk, we're going to continue with that soft heart. So whatever Dharma flows in and feels resonant, you're letting that into the soft heart. Whatever does not feel resonant, we're just letting it kind of wash over you and kind of, move to the side, move to the absorption into other parts of not you, which is fine. And we call this experience equanimity, where we let it just pass over us, and it's not something we need to linger on. Those parts of ourselves that start to resonate with the Dharma, that's where we're going to listen to the heart. And so if it's helpful for you, you can just place a hand on the heart here and remember, what does it feel like to be soft? In the center of my chest, this kind of energetic place of the heart. And just listening with your own inner knowing, what does it feel like to be soft right there? I'm going to open this Dharma with a chant. I'm going to do a spoken chant instead of a singing of the chant. This is a chant of honoring the Buddha, and it is a chant that many different monastics will bring into their practice. It is in the Pali language that comes from different parts of Thailand and Tibet. And I'm going to tell you the chant 3 times, and then I'll let you know the meaning of the chant. So keeping the hand on the heart with the soft, open energy to some esoteric language. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. So this chant is an honoring of the Buddha. And so as the chant opens, it starts to revere the heart space of the Buddha that awakened energies from the time 2,500 years ago when he lived. And these were energies that were beyond the cultural norms. And so they needed a lot of gentleness when he brought them into the world. And so he did not go around saying, I'm the Buddha, right? He shared what he learned, and then people started to call him the Buddha. And so in our lives, as we start to experience a soft heart, we start to get to know those that resonate with us awakening, right? Just as the Buddha awakened. And so as we listen to that soft heart, we start to share it out with our environment today. So looking around your environment, how can I be soft with these energies? Invite them in to show me a reflection of how I'm acting, how I'm responding to the world. This is a time of great polarity. Brian and I were speaking before this about the way that the United States and other parts of the world have started to resonate with very different ideals and ways of being and thinking and feeling and understanding. And it's to the point where each group is kind of adamant in those views, in that truth. And that's very clear for their heart that that's true, right? But when we hold our truth in softness, we can also hold other truths with it that we might not hold so deeply and resonate with. And so when we talk about awakening today, we're talking about awakening from a place that continues to open to others awakening with us, to the whole world, all of the living creatures that are alive today, to feel that experience of that softness. So going back to that chant, it's about honoring that space within ourselves, right? Awakening the Buddha within. This week I was reflecting on awakening, and I'd like you to feel into your body with what I say here. That awakening is this place of initiative. When we bring initiative to any suffering that we experience, that first noble truth from the Buddha, the first time that he sat down to teach, he taught the Four Noble Truths. But one of the markers of his talk was not just the Four Noble Truths, but it was to bring moderation, a middle way. And what does he mean by middle way of the Four Noble Truths? That is so personal for each of us. What is a middle way? Does it mean softness for you? Does it mean seeing the polarity, the edges of our experience between differing views? Does it mean that sometimes we're on one edge of that polarity and we need to bring ourselves back to be allowing an experience? Does it mean just moderation, like just enough that I don't take more than I need? So I allow other beings to live with me on the planet, humans, all other forms of life, animals, plants, that I can be interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say, like this experience of being together and not taking over, not smothering or being in one way. So this moderation was his first teaching. And so if we awaken to moderation in ourselves, we can linger, there's no forcing awakening. Awakening is something that we receive when we're in moderation. We receive it on a walk in the forest or in our neighborhood, the little touch of nature we're in. We receive it when we catch the eyes of someone we love. These are moments where we can be present in our experience, present for what suffering may exist for ourselves as we reflect in that receiving of that aliveness, of that being. But also it can awaken an experience. What does it mean to be connected? Right? What does it mean to be connected? It means that we do feel the suffering of others. Like we're about to go through an election, and Brian and I have been talking about offering a compassionate witness, and that is basically an hour and a half session where we allow people to come in and receive the energy of their own emotions, their own process, in a very safe space to co-regulate it. And I have a strong understanding from direct experience and from being with the Buddha within, that this is something that we can have access to ourselves, this co-regulation. As we learn about it in a group setting, like with this Awakening Truth community, as we learn about those people that hold us when we catch eyes with them at home, as we are with creatures in the natural world or with trees, as we connect, right, we start to co-regulate, I believe. And so I invite you to check this out for yourself. What does it mean to receive awakening? What does it mean to connect with what is alive in my environment? My plants, for instance, that, I have to water them. They will die if I don't connect with them. If I don't fill up my water glass and go pour it and spend the time to witness how much they need. This one, he's tricky, this one up here, because if I put too much water in, all the water will spill out. Right? And it pours down and I don't want it to get on something below. So I have to spend that time, again, understanding, is my plant suffering? Am I suffering and I need a little time with something that it's alive? And that would be a great time to connect with my plant, even if I don't have to water it. And just in knowing that first noble truth with moderation, I know how much to water it. If I'm overzealous and I'm like, oh, just pour it in, I got to get it done. It's not moderation. And so what does it mean to be at the center? I believe that there's energies that are timeless beyond our polarity, right? I believe these energies are soft and they're similar to the Buddha. And so one of the most important teachings for me from the Buddha was to go by direct experience. I have yet to find this teaching, honestly. I know it's in a sutta because I learned it orally from a teacher over a decade ago. But it's been one of the strongest parts of the path for me. And when I was watching a documentary on the Buddha a couple weeks ago, it was also something that many who are not, in the lifestyle of Buddhism or practicing it, that they sense that this is a practice of empowerment. It is a lifestyle of empowerment where we come into ourselves and experience our Buddha nature. But that, again, isn't a place where we drudge ourselves to get there. We force ourselves into an enlightened experience. It's something where that direct experience is something that we open to and we set up the conditions for, as the Buddha taught about, what are those causes and conditions in that chain of experience. And so that teaching that I first was guided to about over a decade ago, I've been practicing meditation in Buddhist circles for about 14 years. And it took a handful of years to not be constantly forcing myself into the breath, forcing myself to sit. And I was falling asleep a lot. And it was very mental practice. It was not a gentle practice. I was very willful, is what I'll say. But when I heard about that direct experience teaching, don't go by teachers, don't go by sutta or sutra, Sanskrit or Pali language there. Don't go by a relative, a close friend, what they've told you. But what he means is to go into a practice or teaching and check it out. What he means is to actually meditate with it. spend the time to be in mindfulness and heartfulness with what is being told to us and check it out. Is it resonating? Is it reducing the amount of suffering? Is it supporting those in our experience to be connected to us so we can feel that awakening? And so I was on a call with a close friend this week, a new friend, a very new friend. And we spent some time talking about our spiritual paths. And at one point, she said, I'm really willing, I'm ready to start to experience, awakening and enlightenment. My kids are out of the house, I've had a wonderful career, I've done all these things. And I just said to her, I said, what if it's right here, right now? what if we're just experiencing this and our connection with each other and who we are and all those teachers that you've connected with that have awakened you in the past, aren't those moments where you've already had that? So I ask you all that are listening the same question. Think about those moments where you were with a teacher, a guide, with a close friend, or with something in nature that awakened you. Remember those moments. You've had these moments. And they've offered you just a natural joy, an opening of your body, a softness of your heart. What are those moments? Remember those moments, right? And those are the moments that have shifted our awareness to allow the suffering and allow the change of experience. We're in a time of a lot of change. We always have been, but now the change feels fast. It feels very fast. I don't know if that's the same for you. And whenever something is moving very quickly, that means that moderation is even more powerful, more enlightening, more awakening. When I'm not in a hurry in my car and I'm letting people go, I'm creating more space on the road. When I'm not needing to be the first one in line at the grocery store and I'm okay being at the back of the line, I'm creating more space in the energy at the grocery store trying to get out the door. So it's a practice of patience. It's a practice of gentleness. That now we have this deep challenge for those of us practicing with awakening to bring it into all of our environments, all the places where we can connect, where we thought we couldn't, right? It's because of those energies that we're feeling the suffering, feeling the compression on us, whether it's with our own bodies getting sick and old, people or loved ones dying, whatever it is, right? So these experiences, if we invite a patience and gentleness into the way that we approach them, right? The moderation comes in with the effort, right? Sharing a couple parts of the path of, watching that suffering release. One is that intention coming into the experience, that right intention, that right view, and that right effort. And when I use the word right, what I mean is for you personally, your direct experience of moderation with those parts of the path, right? That's so supportive to be soft with what we think is the way. Because then if we need to make a little change, it's like the water. It can invite in the change. But if we act like the rock, when something tries to change us, we're not moving, right? And we're still going. And we might miss out on receiving the awakening. So being like the water or like the sun, right? With our energy, where we give it, we understand when it needs to rest because we're aware and connected to our environment, and then we're soft with it. So awakening comes from initiative, but what kind of initiative, right? So I invite you to experience the moderation of your initiative, the lingering of patience and gentleness in that initiative, where you're just there and ready to then let it flower, right? Let it flow in the way that it wants to flow. So these are some reflections from the week of practicing with awakening. And if you're interested in more of the resources around the Namo chant, you can look up the Pali, Pali chanting, and you'll find some more chants in this regard. And if you're interested in the Four Noble Truths, Tsering, Tsering, he's a beautiful author on the Four Noble Truths, and he really starts to open the energy of moderation. And just that first noble truth, he really goes in depth, as I've been sharing about. And so I invite you to go into those resources and then directly experience your environment and your world with that patience and gentleness and see what happens. See what you start to receive, what awakening comes in. And the last piece of this is that the insight or the clarity from the awakening, as many of us know, sitting long retreats where you are in silence for many days, or maybe you just spend some time at home and you have a more quiet weekend, right? You're not spending time with a lot of friends or out and about. Any of those times where we go in and we spend more time internally, that there's this moment where it just becomes so much of a challenge. We face our suffering, but if we continue to stay with it in that patient and gentle space of what happens next, and we allow our environment to teach us, right? There was an experience I had on a retreat with Amma, one of the founders of Awakening Truth, or the founder, excuse me. And so she was a monastic for many years, and I had sat a silent retreat with her. It was like a handful of years ago. I sat many with her. And we were in the desert for this retreat, and I had a very challenging experience as part of the retreat. This has happened to me on other retreats, with different teachers, where something happens in an interview, or I remember an experience from my life where I'm really hurt. I often will go into shaming myself. That's my tendency. And that happened on this retreat. I was shaming myself. I'm not good enough. Why am I here? Why should I be doing this? Shouldn't I be at home getting something done instead of sitting? And I just remember sitting in the desert, and I had tears coming down, and I said, well, should I go home? What should I do? How do I pull myself out of this despair, of this suffering? And I look over at a branch, and I see the branch kind of curled down. And the branch, it wasn't really alive. It had lived a life, right? And I could remember its life, and I could feel how it lived. And at one point, when it was alive, it grew down. It was growing, and then it just took a turn. And I was like, I could just take a turn. I don't have to go in the direction of the suffering. And so I just tried it. What would it feel like to just feel crooked? And so I just moved my thoughts, and I moved my body because I was looking at the branch. And I found that as I moved my body, as I started to be aware of my whole experience, there's another way that I can co-regulate myself here. Invite in this direct experience of how this branch lived, and live just like the branch. And I just started laughing. And I was like, it's that simple. And when clarity comes in like that, you have the insight when you're sitting in silence for many hours. You're just like, relief. Relief from my own thoughts and inner world. Sometimes the inner world has built up with agitation and unease and needs to settle. And so it felt like a settling. Like, it's okay that it's all not working. And it doesn't look like maybe I think it should look like. So it was inviting in that awakening. And although at that moment it didn't feel much like awakening, right? There wasn't like a lot of light and like strong bodily sensation that was easeful and joyful and rapturous. It was literally just a moment of ease, right? A little bit of patience with myself. And that's the tip of it. That's the moderation with me stopping the will of trying to get into a posture of awakening, but instead just kind of like, oh, it's a branch going like this. And my experiences feels very similar. I can resonate and soften and open to that. So this is awakening, awakening to clarity, right? Awakening to what does it mean to listen. So thank you. It's a little longer Dharma talk. And let's meditate together. Brian will invite us in.
Thank you, Kat. I'm going to pause to close the window since there's a lot of noise going outside my window. I'll be right back. So just take a moment to feel your space, feel your feet, feel your seat, feel your hands resting. Feel your head. Maybe taking a deep breath, letting a breath out, lowering the shoulders a little more, just a little bit more. Sitting upright, relaxed, taking in the soft, subtle energies, softening our heart. I'm going to wake up the bell and invite the bell 3 times. I invite you to listen to the full sound of the bell from its beginning to its dissipating into the energies. Just feel the breath as you breathe in, feeling the breath when you breathe out. And just like the bell, feel the beginning, middle, and end of the in breath, the gap between the in breath and the out breath, the beginning, middle, and end of the out breath, and then the gap. Just stay with the full duration of the breath. And let the breath become natural. Just be curious about the breath. No two breaths are exactly alike. Just being curious about the breath. Breathing in, filling the whole body with the nourishing air. And breathing out from the whole body, checking in with our bodies, feeling our space, our feet, our hands, feeling the space the whole body occupies. It's our space, our sacred space. If it feels right, put the relaxation of the body in the foreground and the breath guiding us in the background. As we listen to our softening heart, ever softening heart, gentleness, kindness, starting with ourselves, bringing in this loving energy to ourselves. We are all connected. As we sit in our sacred space, right here, right now, in the present moment. At any given time, we sit with 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. As we drop into the present moment, joy naturally arises, even if very subtle, allowing ourselves to put a very tiny smile for positivity and friendliness to ourselves, softening the heart, the subtle energies of our shared humanity, everyday awakening as we connect to life. As we sit, we may notice the mental activity that can be stirring in our head. Just recognizing, observing the mental activity, not listening to it, So specifically, just let it, labeling it as noise in the background. It's not important now. As we drop into the present moment, letting the subtle energies of our softening heart be the language that we're listening to, our own personal experience, our own awakening, awakening, a verb, a process, a dial rather than a switch, gradual, gentle, and kind. The mental activity becoming so soft, like a almost inaudible whisper. As we experience our mind, seeing not so much the contents of our mind, but the container of the mind, the flavor of the mind. How do we color our containers of perception? What subtle energies do we take in to clear our perception? Allow those to bathe us, nourish us. Mindfulness, wakefulness, clear perception. It's like a window. The window is smudged up. We don't see clearly with mind interference. It's like smudging our window, seeing clearly with our mindfulness, just seeing the container of the mind, whatever it is, not the individual contents of our thoughts. Be in the blue sky, the clouds are the thoughts, just observing the clouds, these little thought clouds, whether they are puffy or wispy, feathery, or storm clouds, whatever the flavor is of the mind, just noticing from a place of observation, seeing the mind inside the mind. Breathing in, concentrating the mind. Breathing out, concentrating the mind. Soft focus concentration, like a wide angle lens. Relaxed concentration, softening light, as if looking at the sky and trying to see the whole sky at the same time. Wide angle lens, soft focus, taking all it in, the subtle energies that have been speaking to us from the time of the Buddha are here now in us. Soft focus concentration, feeling the inner spaciousness if it's available to us at this moment. Just dropping in to this inner spaciousness inside our heads, feeling the space the whole body occupies, the relaxation of the whole body, a breath in the background, relaxation of the body in the background, soft focus concentration in the foreground, being with this inner space, our shared space with all humanity, listening to the subtle energies of our own experience, subtle energies of kindness, love, peace, contentment, shared humanity. Just watching little wispy clouds going by, or puffy clouds, or storm clouds. Just being the blue sky, dropping in this deeper reality that binds us all together. Everything that arises passes away. Just being with the present moment. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama buddhassa. Subtle energies all around us. Our own personal experience, our own awakening, shared with the awakening of all beings. Feeling our softening heart, connecting to our minds, bathing our minds with the subtle energies softening our heart. Gonna rest for a couple more breaths here. A few more breaths. And we'll wake up the bell, invite the bell. Thank you all so very much. Thank you.